Right. Hey, folks, good morning. Today is February 4th. We are in Cluster API, a provider for IBM Cloud Meeting. And we have quite a amount of items to discuss today because we haven't discussed. I mean, our last meeting was almost a month back, so we have good amount of work items to discuss, and then also we're going to discuss a little bit on the part what we have delivered before that. Maybe we'll start with that. Uh, hey, Project, thanks for joining in. Right. Yeah, I mean, we did deliver a lot of features, in last 1 month, right? So that just noted on a few major features what we delivered, then many more, right? So maybe we can spend a quick time. Quickly we can discuss on some of these features what we delivered. Yeah, I mean, first one, the major feature what we delivered is like a Power VM image import. So this is mainly for yeah, I mean, like what really happens is that maybe I'll just go to the spec and then I can explain you what really this feature is. Here we can just go to the template before explaining this. I can explain you the current flow at the moment, right? So what really happens is in a typical template in RVS, what we are doing is like in the machine template, right? So we kind of mentioned this image name, right, or image ID. So what really the thing is like at the moment, or just before this feature, customers or user has to just import this image as a prerequisite, right? Only then they can just create this machine and then deploy the cluster and then whatnot. So yeah, that was a prerequisite, and then I mean, this is always painful, right? Because customers or user cannot always import the image beforehand. So at times, like we'll not even know what image needs to be imported. So that really kind of sometimes like while uh, passing some of the other specs, and then we'll get to know what image we want to import or use it. So basically, like the image what we are talking about is like the images from the cost bucket, the IBM cost bucket. So that's what we are talking about. So user will have the images already present in the IBM cost bucket, and from there you can back. I mean, that's the usual process. So the customer or user will have the images in the cost bucket, and then user will kind of import them manually, and then use that image name here, right? So that's the prerequisite until now before this feature, right? So any questions here? I'll just pause for a second. Any questions with this flow? Yes, no? All clear? Okay, can you guys still hear me? Oh.
Yeah, yes, man.
Okay, I just wanted to. Okay, so yeah, the thing is like we have this new featuring which is mainly for image importing things. So that's what we merged recently, that we have mentioned here. So this is I mean, of course, a project can add more details whenever required, right? So I'm just going through what is implemented. So of course, you can just explain or add more information whenever required. So yeah, I mean, we did like created this new resource in new API the repository. So what it does is it will just take these parameters like the cluster name. So I mean, we will have to revisit this, field is really necessary or not, but at the moment we just added this cluster name. So this is mainly the cluster name of your Power VS cluster, right? So where you want to really import the image. And the next, of course, the service ID, what we're using for importing, where exactly we want to import. And we have bucket, object, and region, right? So these are the three important aspects where it will help you to locate your image in IBM Cloud Bucket. So that's what we are referring. So these are the mandatory parameters at the moment. And at the moment, we are just supporting only the public images. In future, we might support private images as in the bucket. If someone have the images privately, and then they can also import it in the future, right? But that's something we haven't kind of addressing at the moment. So the assumption is that the objects and then bucket and everything should be public, right? So that's what we are focusing on, and then region is of course where your bucket resides, right? So US South or US East or whatever, right? And another parameter we have it as of now, I mean, is that we are also kind of take users. We are giving flexibility to users that the tier where the image needs to be get imported, right? So in Power BS we have different tiers like tier 1 and 3, and we are expecting customer to supply these tiers. But if not, like we are setting tier 1 as the default storage where the image will be imported. Yeah, this is the overall spec of image import, and then once customer or user submits the spec, so it will just import the image, right? So it will just import the image into your service instance, and then we are also working in terms of adding the the dependency. I mean, this is all fine because we are just importing the image, but you might ask like the question, how do we use this image in the machine spec, right? Or the machine deployment or machine template, wherever, right? So that part we are still working on. So the project is exploring that bit, like how do we refer this spec into that machine deployment spec so that the machine, whenever it wants to deploy, so it will just refer this image and then show that image is available and then just use that image ID, right? I mean, what we are doing also is that in the image status, we are setting like the ready bit. If the image is ready, then we need to just go ahead and then grab the image ID and then just use that image ID wherever required in machine spec, and then that way we just start using that, right? So that's the logic we are trying to use. The project is already working on that front. So yeah, I mean, like in the future, so we will modify the template with the image spec and then machine spec also, right? So that will contain whatever information so we needed. Well, there are existing. I mean, like we also have a flow where if image name exists with the name, so we just using that image, right? So that's the assumption we have. Let's say if somebody already have the image with the name, right? So with whatever name of this text, so that will be in the the object metadata or wherever. So we are using that image name, and then if it's already there, we are just assuming that that image is like created with whatever name. So I mean, unfortunately, we cannot cross check the other parameters like the image details, like is it really got imported from bucket and object and region. So that unfortunately we don't really have that all that information, but we are assuming that user is not going to reuse these names for different images. As in, the assumption is that user will always have the image names unique for I mean, like for their purpose. Like I mean, they're importing the proper image name with whatever bucket and object is what the assumption we're making. So, I mean, if image exists, we're just returning, we are updating the status with all that image ID from the instance, and then we're just making it as ready, right? So that's the assumption we're making. So any questions as of now, or anything you want to add, Rajat?
No, Anju, I think you have covered like most of the part here at least.
So any questions, folks, from anyone? All right. We'll go ahead. So I think so the another work that of course we had to work on the instance using this image spec. So that's something project will be working on, and then we have that feature also in next couple of weeks, right? So and then of course we did added the smoke test I'll just quickly talk about the smoke test also, as in I'll not cover in detail, maybe I'll just give an opportunity to Amulya to explain that. But the thing is like, we just need something to be running for our every PR, right? So at the moment we were just running unit tests and then whatnot, but not something like whether we are really, I mean, like we what we wanted to cover is like deploy some sort of kind cluster and then our controller and then ensure that we are running fine, right? So that's what we added into the smoke test. I'll hand it over to Amulya to talk about that smoke test in detail.
Okay. So for the smoke test, basically we've actually utilized the E2E, whatever we built up for E2E tests itself. So the yeah.
Maybe if you want to take a control, or you're okay with me navigating the screen.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I'll just give a brief right now.
Oh, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so the E2E test, for the E2E test, we basically use the cluster API test framework. So they have a lot of helper methods for initializing kind cluster or initializing the management cluster, all the prerequisites which we need for having a Power VS cluster running or any cluster provided by IBM Cloud provider. So they have pretty good helper methods and we utilize them and in our E2E tests, and they help us in bringing up the whatever from the scratch, starting from the kind cluster, deploying our controllers, and then deploying our cluster using the provider infrastructure provider. So for the smoke test, I basically, if you can say, I just change the focus and then use Twingo focus and use we are utilizing whatever we are utilizing. We're running for E2E tests. So this will only run the steps till deploying the controller, that is deploying the client cluster and the controllers, basically as a check to see if there are any changes, the client cluster is running perfectly fine or not. And for this, we've also updated, we're using the latest version of cluster API, which is 1.1 with all the latest changes. So for running this as a pro job, we added a script as well, which will just directly basically run the target. And yeah, more checks have to be added as of now. So it's just like prerequisites we're running as a part of smoke right now.
Yeah, I agree. So as of now, we just ensure that, I mean, the cluster is getting deployed, the controller is getting deployed is what we are looking at. I think maybe we can add more. I'm not sure whether cluster API got some sort of logic for testing or checking whether controller and everything is running fine. So maybe we can utilize some other utilities if they're not doing it. So I think maybe let's see if we can implement something or we can use something from the cluster API itself for ensuring our controller is running fine and then it's not really crashing, right? So all that we can start. Yeah. So if you go to the smoke test here, right? So this is the project what Amulya was talking. So now onwards you'll see this additional the smoke test running, and this will just look at the output. So here what it does is it will just build the latest image from your code, right? So this is what it does, and then that basically will have the tag with E2E. This is what it does. It will just build the content with E2E tag, and then post that. What we are doing is we are kind of running the E2E test, and then what that does internally is that loads this particular built image into your kind cluster. And you can see here, so we are creating a kind cluster here, and then it loads all those resources. I mean, you can see here, right? So it's just loading that particular image, what is got built in the local, in the local wherever, right? So wherever it is running. So this is running, of course, in Raw, infrastructure in Kubernetes. So and then we are kind of clustering it, and then that in terms will use this particular image. I mean, of course, we have there are a good amount of changes are going in the cluster CTL configurations where it says that what image it needs to be used and then whatnot. So I think we are also hacking that part. And then we are using, of course, the infrastructure IBMCloud, so that way we could just deploy. Right? I mean, it is just deploying everything, and then so that's pretty much what we are running at the moment. I mean, of course, we need to add more checks there, checking whether this controller is up and running or not, whatnot, right? So that's something we should start using. And also, I have seen this, Amulya. I'm not really sure if we need to see why this is really throwing this whatever warning or info message. Um,
Yeah, I am not sure. Like this has been occurring since a lot of time.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll
maybe we
check.
should. Yeah,
Yeah,
maybe just create an issue and see if you can, maybe low priority tasks. We can see if it is really happening only for us
yeah,
or everyone. Or
yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, that is what we worked on, and. Smoke part and debugging part is debugging logs. I wanted to talk. I mean, this is almost a very old feature, but nonetheless, we just want to talk that. Yeah, at the moment, like previously, would have seen that all the APIs will just log to the to STD out or STD error in the controller logs. But what with the recent change, what I have done is that I have just moved the API logging purpose level to 5 and above. So with that, I think you will not see the content or you will not see the API, responses and requests in by default. So you might need to add that extra flag into your JSON file. So here you might need to add so that extra flag the same configuration to get the Power VS test APIs output. So yeah, what it does internally is like it adds this minus V option, V equals to 5 option to your controller, and that is how the whole control get deployed, and then you'll see how it looks. Yeah, this is very handy. So use it whenever you want to, whenever you're doing your development. So that will be helpful for many people post a lot of those drills. And what else? Moving back to this, yeah, this is the feature where we merge this code, and so we just debug is enabled only if the debug level 5 and above, right? So that's what the parameter we are setting. So this really making that happen, right? So that's where it is configured, and then so another important work item also as a feature also we added. Not sure whether I really have a live cluster to show this, but what you will see is that in the machines, right? So basically, we have added additional status called conditions. This is the condition flag what we added. And of course, we added a couple of more, as in more fields also where it explains why, if your machine got failed, why it really failed, the message and the reason for the failure, right? So you can have different reasons for that, create failure, or whatever sort of failures you can have. And then failure messages can be fetched from your infrastructure, which is Power VS, and then we can log those error messages, what we are getting from machine also. At the moment, I am not sure we are setting all the required messages, but of course, we need to use these fields going forward. And of course, the condition where, okay, I didn't explain about the condition. Okay, so the condition is basically like you can have your own conditions here. Like for example, right now we only have the condition called the instance ready. So that will set only when your VM is really up and running, as in your VM got deployed, and then it is in some active state. So then we are setting this as condition as true. So that's one condition we are adding. I mean, added already. And also, so subsequently, we can have another condition like the image ready, right? So that's something we can add, Prajot. So that condition will get updated once we have the dependency image ready, right? So it can be like the dependency image or even the existing image, what they are using, right? So if that image is ready, so we can add another condition saying that um, image is ready, or you can also have message in the condition saying that image is not ready because it's been imported, or image is failed or whatever, right? So that sort of a, we can have condition here, getting that image status, it depends on, right? So all that we can do. Yeah, that's an interesting feature we added. So of course we need to add more conditions, so that we'll do it later. And any questions meanwhile? So the conditions. This is a very important thing. So we might end up adding conditions for other resources also in the future. Anything? Any questions or anything? Doubts? Okay, I'll take it as no. And we did add another feature called sync period. So this is mainly meant for, okay, so yeah, earlier what used to happen is in the main, right, in the controller, we have the controller field called sync period. So just okay. So here is the field basically. So while creating the controller, right? So in the manager, we supply a sync period called. So this is in terms of the typical time period format, where you can supply the whatever time you want to resync your manager if is successful, right? So let's say if your resync reconcile happens already once, and then everything is fine, and then when should your manager or the controller should really iterate next, right? So that's the time we are is been decided by this particular parameter in this sync period. So earlier it is to be like 15 seconds. So that's really a big toll on the API server, because you'll end up calling all the you'll end up taking all the APIs, as in all the resources in this controller, for example, like all the machines in the controller or even images now. It will just go and check the typical flow, right? It will just execute that reconcile loop for every sync period, right? So that's not really acceptable, because that's too much of load to API, and then that may even lead your to hit your API rate limit, and it may even throttle your infrastructure, right? So that's not really a good practice. So what we have done is that most of the folks in other cluster API providers, they are setting it as 10 minutes as a default. So we also have added a flag for that, and then we are setting it as 10 minutes. So if everything goes fine, so what it does, it'll just wait for 10 minutes, and then it'll start reconciliation. That's the a decent amount of time by like looking at other providers. So we're just keeping that as 10 minutes by default. And then when we also giving the opportunity for users to override if someone wants to have like less than 10 minutes or whatever. So we are allowing that. But having that said, in some part of code, it's not really acceptable, right? Let's say if your image is not really imported, or your machine is not really in a good state, but you don't really want to always wait for 10 minutes to update your status, right? So that's something always problematic, because someone else will be waiting on your machine for some other operation, so that will delay. So what we have done is, or what the best way of doing that is that control your requeue period, right? So here, while returning result wherever, right? So if no error, so we just returning this result, so that you can control saying that don't really wait for 10 minutes, the default timeout, but just requeue after 1 minute, right? So that way we kind of like so we should not do this everywhere, right? So we should do it only wherever it is necessary. For example, like your machine, you're trying to deploy a machine, but the bootstrap is not really ready, but you don't really wait for 10 minutes to wait. I mean, 10 minutes for getting the bootstrap, right? So sometimes the bootstrap will be like quickly available after some time. So that's the reason we're just setting it as 1 minute requeue here. And then there are other, you can see the other sort of reason also, like where your cluster is not ready. So that time also we are reconciling after 1 minute. And also there are different other reasons. So I mean, of course, like you can see here, where the machine is shut off, we are not taking any chance, and then we're just not going and checking the status again. So we're just revisiting the machine state after 10 minutes. And of course, like yeah, here if machine is not ready, we are just reconsidering again for after 2 minutes to check whether machine is still ready or not. Otherwise, we are just returning. Well, I mean, if someone specifies without any sort of time here, so it will take default 10 minutes as a reconcile or sync period. So any questions here? Or do you think it might, or any part of code might work or not, or you might end up changing that part also? Any comments? All right. If no, we'll jump to backlog. So anything else anyone wants to discuss before backlog? We go to backlog.
Nothing from me, Manju.
All right, and yeah, I mean, I think we can discuss about some of the PRs what we submitted recently. I mean, before going backlog, I mean, we have 2 PRs here. Add E2E scripts, so Amulya did that, and then I have posted a few minor comments there, and maybe we can. I mean, Amulya, you can just respond to this. Yeah, otherwise it's decent. So yeah, maybe a couple of changes may be needed, and then and then of course.
Yeah, that was the only way I could get the IPs from the PBS ADM get ports output.
Yeah, I'm just wondering whether you can just. It's a very simple fix. Maybe you can see if you can make that modification in the PBS ADM and see if you can push change. Okay with that.
I mean, what is the expectation there in PBS? Because I didn't get much out of the comment.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So the thing is, like, we are just doing all this arc and then whatnot, right? So that's really crazy. It's sometimes there is this may not really work. Yeah. What I would say that in the get ports, you can have another flag saying that JSON output in a JSON format, so that you can, after creation of the port, so you can get that JSON output, and then you can do a JQ tool query, and then you can use whatever fields you want.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. Sure. Yeah, I got it. Yeah, I'll look into it.
Yeah. Maybe that may be helpful, right? So you can do that.
Yeah,
but I think as of now we'll just keep it as is, and then we'll merge it. But this is something you can just take a look at it.
Yeah. Sure. I'll take it. Yeah. I'll address that.
All right. So that's about E2E, and yeah, this image import thing. I had some announcements that I've just added a couple of more status. We were not really monitoring the job before, so I've just added that logic for monitoring the job, and then act accordingly, right? If job is failed, and then it just fails with that whatever message, and then it will also update all that condition and with all those messages. I think Rajat is already taken a look at it, and it's good. And then I would say, like, Karthik, you also maybe take a look at it and then hack it. So unfortunately, Kubernetes is not recognizing Rajat's hack. So maybe you can take a look at it and then see if you can hack this PR, so that we can merge this.
Sure.
All right. So that's that's what about the current PRs, and then maybe we can go to the issues, right? So I think you would have noticed that I have created bunch of other issues also, like and then I just added a different milestone here called next. So this is really meant that what after 0.2, right? So that's what we just added a couple of more issues there. I think they are like more feature purpose, but I think we already have 8 issues for 0.2 release. So that's something we need to target and then get it done. So uh, maybe you guys can take a, I mean, like I think we have owners for most of these work items, and but except this Capi to. Okay, so I asked Emily, so maybe Emily just take a look at it. So maybe we need to update module in hack tool
Yeah,
also.
sure,
Yeah,
sure.
just take a look at it, and then I'm just wondering whether we should really focus on this default part as of now in this release or next, right? So I don't, because we have a lot of other tasks in place, and then this is not really blocking us. I mean, user can still go and then submit uh, whatever spec they need, right? So that is still there. So I'm just wondering, so Prajit, do you mind if we just move to the next milestone? So, or you think this needs to be done in 0.2?
No, yeah, I think we can move this forward because so far at least it is not blocking anything, or it's just a matter of trying certain scenarios and just getting those values right. So we can move it to the next one.
Okay, just move to next one. And Prajit, do we have that using image into instance like machine?
No, I'll create that issue. The integration part, right? Yeah, I'll create
Yes,
that.
yes. Yeah. Maybe create that and then tag to 0.2. That's really
Okay.
needed.
Yeah. Okay, Manju, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, some of these issues maybe we can in the next meeting we can talk through, or do you think we can? I think we still have enough time, so maybe I can discuss. I mean, we can talk some of these next item. But first of all, I just want to track 0.2 milestone. Opened up for image building. So this is still pending with me. I have another task, and okay, I want to mention that. So I'll add another task which is pending for this, and then also maybe I'll spend some more time here. So I did some. Oh, this is mainly because all this infrastructure, right? So they use something called Packer in the image builder, right? So they have something called Packer here. So all these Packer infrastructure, they use it for deploying the image and then creating the image. So I did spend some time and then created a repository in. I have an initial code written and then for the Packer plugin. So this is mainly for deploying the VM and then running whatever Packer scripts it does. Like for example, Packer is a tool where what it does is it will just create whatever infrastructure and then it will run the uh, provisioning thing. Like for example, I can just show you where is okay. So it's in builder Apache. For example, right? So this is a typical example how the build file looks like. So user will have builder like the builder configuration. So builder will be like your provider. Here it is like obvious provider. So it will give all the details like the API key and the service instance you want to use it or not, use it and then whatnot. So based on that, it will deploy that particular infrastructure and then it will make the SSH available. It will just create that SSH connection with using whatever information we are supplying here. And post that, you can have your own provisioner. So in this case, it is just the shell provisioner where it can deploy whatever shell scripts you have, right? For example, you can have your shell script here, and then this package.sh is referred somewhere shell path, and this is in package.sh shell path variable, and then they're just referring that, and then that is how it is get used. And there they are just using this infrastructure in Packer heavily, and then they use Ansible provisioner, right? So that's the Ansible provisioner, they use it. I think it's going to be another, you know, 1.5 hour session to go through the entire process. But the gist of this task is that we need to add that particular support for Power BS, and then for building the image and then whatnot. I think this is not. I don't think we can really achieve that in 0.2. So maybe I just move into next, because we don't really have a lot of blocker here. So because I mean, at least the local code and all stuff is working fine, but the upstream part and then all is still in progress. So that's something I'll take care in the next release whenever it's possible, but not now. Yeah, but we need to add the documentation with all the CAP images. That's something I want to take care of. That, so that I'll have a task created for updating the documentation with all the CAP images and then bucket and then objects and what we are using, so that be even useful for someone else, or it's more of like documenting these things in a public website. So that's something I'll do it. So any questions for this task? All right, so the enhanced Golang linting. So this is required. I'm not sure whether Raji will be able to do that. So anyone else is interested in this?
I'll take that up, Manju. Actually, initially you mentioned it. I take it up. I'll look into that. Yeah.
Yeah, understand from here, and then that. So, and also you folks, I think I would recommend, so if you don't have the Kubernetes, the membership, I think you should also look at how do we get your membership into Kubernetes, right? So that will give you an opportunity, and then I can do the assignment, and a lot of other things will become very easy for me. Please work towards that, and then have the plan. And then also, if you need any sort of a help, let me know. We can work together and get the membership for you folks, right? And again, enhance the Golang link is done. So the cloud provider integration. So this is still waiting on other internal things. So yeah, I mean, Karthik, of course, submitted some patches for the existing cloud provider for the VPC. I think we'll wait for some more time and see how it goes. Maybe once we do that, I think we can come back and see. I think Karthik, you want to add anything? So I think you tried something with that patched image, and it is working fine, right?
Yeah, Manju, I tried with that patch, whatever they made for the submit the PR for IBM provider, and with some hacks and all, it's working as expected. Like once we install the cloud provider, so it's going to install the initialize other nodes, and all the taints were removed, and after that the CMS will actually install properly.
Okay, and one quick thing there is like, can you please confirm with Madan or for the tags what is looking for the CSR, right? Can we see if we can add all those missing tags? Is it really happening in that flow, or all the other expected tags from the CSR? The labels. Karthik, I cannot hear you. You're on mute, or can anyone else hear me?
I can hear you, Manju.
Okay, I think no problem. So we can I'll just sync up with Karthik. Karthik, I can hear you now. Oh, I see he rejoined.
Yeah, Manju, sorry.
Yeah, so can you ensure or make sure we have all the required labels on the node, what CSI and other folks expecting?
Yeah, sure, Manju. For the CSI only, I need to explore. I'm still not able to find out how we can set a custom label for the nodes. That's one thing I have to do it. Much.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's not
Yeah.
ignore that. Even that is important.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
All right. Okay. Just close it accidentally. And upgrade flow. Amula, any update there? Like, did we get a chance to test the upgrade flow?
Not much. I have to actually revisit that again. So if it's targeted for this milestone, I'll immediately start looking into it again.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, it
I'm
shouldn't take
not
much time. I'll get this done by this milestone.
Yeah, sure, no problem. And then I'm not sure why it is not showing all the other work items here. You're also exploring something else there. Yeah, I mean, like ensure that you have issues created for all that and tag proper milestones. Okay. This should go to 0.2. This is another issue I created, Prajwal. So this is mainly for handling the deleting process smoothly. What I see yesterday is that if I delete my IBM or base cluster, so this is not really deleting the image. So it's not really, yeah, I mean, I have just mentioned what I explored and then why it is not really happening. So we can maybe spend some time and see. All right, this is something we needed.
Yeah, Manju, I'll take a look at it. I think during integration, I'll take a look at that also.
Okay. All right, so these two other issues not fit into any milestones because they're not really issues at the moment. So we need to debug further and then triage. Yeah, that's the reason. And then we have milestone for all the issues. That's good. And then we'll go back to 0.2. We discussed, yeah, release process. I did document certain steps, what I followed. Maybe I'll just create a documentation out of it. So I'll do that. That should not be a problem. And set up the community meeting. This is already done. I think we need to update certain documents, then whatnot. I think recently also we got some request from the folks about adding certain details. I'm not sure. Maybe I'll just show you that message. Recently, we just got a ping from the cluster API lead for filling some form. I haven't explored this. What is this form actually? So there are some they're asking. So let me know in case if anyone is interested in filling this form and then answering some of these questions. And also they are looking for if someone wants to talk about the content what we want to deliver. So that's something deadline is December 14. So this is in KubeCon maintainer track. Let me know in case if someone is interested. So we can propose this whatever we want to talk, right? So that's we already always welcome. So yeah, so you can also talk to the person and check with what is the expectation and then what they're expecting. So right, so ensure we have some presence in the community. So that's very important. Right? Let me know. And yeah, this is what I'm talking about. So we need to update this particular information what they are asking for. So I'm not sure where we need to update. I think I'll talk to the person and then right. I see something here. Okay, so yeah, I mean we do have this. I think we need to update this meeting and other stuff so that something is missing. So maybe I think once I update this information here, so I can close that docs other meeting task what I've created. I think this is something I will do it. Okay. And that's what is one thing pending from here. So anything anyone wants to talk here? So any idea or any commentary part there? This one here. Okay, I think not necessarily can say something here, like just get back to me or we can discuss on that front, what we can talk and then whatnot. So yeah, of course, this form we need to submit. Let me know in case if someone is interested in filling this form. And of course, I'll take care of the third part. That's something spending on my hand. All right, so anything, yeah, so anything else you want to discuss? I think we discussed this and this also, and then of course, this also we discussed. So anything else anyone wants to discuss?
Manju, just one thing. Hello.
Sorry? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Manju, I was saying yesterday I was trying to deploy the cluster, right? Using the cluster API IBMCloud provider. So the control plane came up, but the worker nodes was still waiting for the bootstrap data secret, right? So, and yeah, it was quite working, like waiting for some time, and workers were not coming up, like they were not getting created. They were still waiting for the bootstrap data secret. So I'm not sure exactly if this is the issue with the streams image that we have created, the 20 GB one. So
Well, data secret is comes little later, right? It's comes. Okay, the master thing is happening, right? The master is getting created,
the control plane node is getting created and it is coming into ready state, and state is also, health is also okay. That is fine, but then after that it is waiting for a very long time, like the workers are not coming up. It is still waiting for the bootstrap data secret. So I'm not sure whether the issue is with that specific image, because I'll try today to use the older.
May not be image part, so I think we need to debug further and then understand the cube controllers, cube controller, or any of that. What's really going on there, right? So maybe someone is not really creating the cube secret. So that what really happens is it will go and talk to your master, the controller, the master API, and then it will generate the token and then whatnot, and then it will do all that logic. I think we need to dig deeper and then understand what's really going on there, right? Because we also kind of merged a recent code from 1.1, so that's something needs to be debugged. So let's create a thread. Maybe we can debug that. So yeah, so we'll have to debug. I'm damn sure it's not really a problem with image. So
okay, Manju, I'll try to create a cluster today itself, and I'll see how it goes, and otherwise I will start a thread on that here.
Yeah, let's discuss on this front. Yeah, some of these issues. Yeah, I mean, like once we address the E2E running E2E part of the PR merge, right? So I think most of these issues will go away. So I think we should also focus on that front. So Amulya, I'm looking forward to you. I mean, of course, like we can run that. What do you call the downstream CI thing for whatever running. So I think we should also start exploring how do we enable upstream CI, as in the upstream CI in Kubernetes Pro, and then we'll start running that. Then we'll get them up.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Some of these things will get tested then, right? In worst case, like we can also have integration of our Pro for the PR job, but I'm not sure we should really do that. Maybe, yeah, let's see how it goes. But definitely we should run something E2E for creating workers and then whatnot. Everything should be part of the flow for every PR test. So then only we can confidently say things are working, right? So that's something we can start looking at. Right. So anything else from anyone?
Should we also create an issue for the unit test, because we need to improve storage there as well? So is it targeted for this milestone or next milestone?
Your voice is breaking, Amulya. Can you repeat again?
Okay. Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I was just asking about whether we should get the unit test done in this milestone and next milestone. We should probably have an issue for that as well. Because
for the unit test.
Yeah.
Yeah, just okay. Start creating the. Create the issue. Okay. Yeah, may not be for 0.2, but definitely for the next, right?
Yeah,
Next one.
definitely, yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, let's try to close 0.2 as soon as possible. So with all the major features, we'll try to close, and then unit tests and all stuff can be done. So even upgrade flow, not sure. Yeah, but definitely we'll revisit this the content, but definitely any other test coverage should go to next. That's all. Right. So anything else from anyone? I think today was a good discussion. So we spent like 40 minutes or 45 minutes. All right. So if nothing else, have a nice
Manju,
day.
yeah, just an update that on that sponsorship front, right? So I talked to a couple of folks. I got one person who is ready, and the other one will update me on Monday. He said, yeah.
Okay. So maybe what you should do is like start creating the, okay, I'll just
PR,
stop
right?
recording. I'll just stop recording.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you just, okay. So what I can say is like just create a issue and then tag the person and me.
Okay.
Or you can also tag Karthik, so we can also sponsor. I mean, he can tag me, so I can also sponsor. So we just need one person from the different org. So I think if that person is willing to sponsor, I think we have a quorum, right? So I can sponsor and that person's sponsoring. So then you can get the membership, right? So get
Okay,
good.
sure. Okay, I'll do that then today itself. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe talk to Karthik on that template part so if you have any doubts. So we did it recently. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Fantastic. Good news. Anything else from anyone? All right. Thanks for joining the call, folks. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.